Today is the last day of May, and we're going to visit a little bit about the pandemic. We're going to revisit where we are on what happened, or as I say in Italian, the pandemici. What do you call it where you are?
Pandemic to pandemia.
And
Well, we call it COVID-19. I'm confused. Pandemic. Yeah, I guess. I can't switch back to my language. Can you? I mean, go figure. I'm trying to switch back to Russian, and then I don't know how we call it here. Isn't that
yes,
crazy?
yes, yes, it is.
Pandemia.
And
Very similar
yeah,
to what they say in Italy.
well, it's so strange because I have experienced a real kind of warp in time. I can't really remember when it began. I can't exactly remember when it was officially announced. I can't exactly remember when it was over. It's been re-announced. Masks are starting to be sold again. Some signs are coming up again. Masks might be helpful, like some shops and restaurants that are owned by not a franchise. They're putting up funny signs. I was at this one place, White Rock Ale House, and they had a little sign on the door exiting to the back patio where you can bring dogs, and it said dogs wearing masks optional.
I remember you told me a story about your friend who is a truck driver. He stopped at this truck stop when they have lunch or something to have a bite, and then there was an announcement. No truck drivers. I laughed a lot.
Yeah, his name is Jaredin, and I've known Jaredin, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. He drives a big 18-wheeler all over the United States and into Canada. So he gets to see a lot of historic places, really beautiful places. He was telling me about 6 or 7 months ago. Now, he was telling me about something that happened about 6 or 7 months ago. He's driving a truck. He stops at a place called Truck Stop. It has a convenience store, a restaurant, showers, places for truckers to go in and kind of rest and, recharge their batteries. And the first thing that happened is he got out of his truck to go inside, and the sign on the door said closed, order at the window. And so he tried to figure out how to do that because he's now on foot, and then he went to get back in his truck and drive it around to the window, but the overhang on the window was too low, so trucks couldn't go through there. So he pulled his truck to the side again and got out of his truck to go order a sandwich or something. And then there was a woman inside that just closed the window on his face and just put up a little sign that said closed. And that made him feel very sad and unloved.
Unloved. You make it sound funny. Like, I deserve to be loved. And so are you. And so is everybody. I think we need love. And when you said like unloved, I immediately thought, that is the truth. Because we all need some love.
Well, as I mentioned the other day, Tina Turner passed away at the age of 83. And she and her husband, Ike Turner, actually played some ballrooms here in Dallas, Texas. And, she left him and she started her own career, and she's a powerhouse of rock music. And one of her songs, What's Love Got to Do with It? But in her later years, she became a Buddhist, and supposedly Cher visited her not long before her death and has reported that she was actually kind of peaceful with her life. And I suppose that we all stop every now and then to check in with ourselves to see how we're doing. But how has the pandemic treated you? How has it warped time for you, or maybe improved or made you worse?
Well, first of all, I'm thinking, isn't it interesting that we call pandemic the same word almost everywhere? Italy, Germany, Russia, United States, Britain, I don't know, any language groups use the same word for one thing. And I'm sure if you go to Venus or Mars, they call pandemic very similar to what we call it here on Earth. And how I felt, I remember that we were let go at the office, and it sounded awful. I mean, we've never had such experience before. It was much more later that we started having jokes and actually getting used to the whole situation. But at the time, it seemed scary. Didn't it seem scary to you?
Well, to be let go means you no longer have a job. But what you meant is you were supposed to go home, not come into the office and work from home. Were you working from home?
Well, it felt like we were let go, but yes, we were told to go home and
wait for further instructions.
Exactly. I was trying not to swear, but I couldn't find any words.
Well,
yeah.
Well, some jobs have to be performed in person, like, dentistry. You have to sit in a chair and somebody digs around your mouth. Or, if you're a doctor getting, doing surgery and you're cutting out somebody's gallbladder, you have to be standing on top of the person with your knives, cutting into them. And I found that during the pandemic, the lawyers really racked up because everyone was pissed off and angry. There was divorce lawyers that got a lot of business, corporate lawyers, defamation lawyers. The lawyers could still bill every 15 minutes because the only thing the lawyers need is their laptop. So the lawyers killed it during the pandemic. Of course, their marriages and their relationships sucked because they were trapped at home with their significant other. But I'm a writer and I buy and sell art and I work on some different committees. So I have to be out there with people. So there was no galas, there were no art shows, there were no bars and clubs open, there were no galleries open. And I'm just here behind my door thinking, well, how soon will this be over? Because that's how I make money, is just be out there, doing stuff. And it was so strange because one of my daughters came to visit me from New York, and she wanted to buy a house in Houston and one in Dallas. And so she went to go visit this friend of hers. She went to school in Austin. And the friend said, you have to wear a mask. And she said, well, we're friends. And her friend had a little baby. And her friend said, well, I don't care if we're friends, you need a mask. So she left that place and went to somebody else's house because she knows lots of people in Austin. And they said, you need a mask. And then she told me that she was coughing a little bit. It was probably nothing, but she was going to come to Dallas on a bus. It's called the Mega Bus. You just get on the bus and there's a place for your laptop and a place for your drinks, and it's very
like
convenient.
Greyhound?
No, it's not Greyhound. Greyhound is for the average man. The Mega Bus is like a special service where you can buy your ticket at the last minute. You can get 2-3 little tables. It's kind of different.
Nice.
But it's a big bus. But I told her, I said, hey, I talked to her on the phone. I said, hey, sounds like you're sick. She goes, well, it's just a cold. I go, I've been reading about the pandemic. I don't know if I want you to come and bring, New York germs to Dallas. And she said, Mom, you're being ridiculous. And so I thought, I'm going to die because my daughter's visiting me. And I thought, well, I have to prepare. So I got different towels out and I cleaned all the surfaces and I washed all the light switches. And at that time, we were bringing in groceries in bags, leaving the bags at the door, washing the vegetables, washing our hands, washing our face, washing the mirror. And I kept thinking, how can I be a nice mom when I don't want any visitors. And so she came here, and that we were both a little bit sick with, I think it just was a cold, but her husband then texted her and said, you need to come back to New York because this pandemic is real. So he's a federal attorney, and I sort of figure like the federal government knew something. And so she wanted to go look at some houses. So we drove around, but there's no realtors available. There's nobody on the streets. All the restaurants were closed. I felt like it was kind of the end of the world. And the only thing I wanted my daughter to do was just get on a plane and go away so I could stay here and clean my apartment and be safe. Remember, everybody was saying, be safe.
Where was safety?
Be safe.
Exactly. Where's my safety? Exactly my point. But you said, well, everybody's wondered how soon it will be over. I don't think it will be over, even now, because we have these long COVID symptoms, or what they call. I'm afraid that I got some, because sometimes I totally forget what I'm doing, or
memory
stuff.
problems. I noticed that you have forgotten episodes we made about a year ago. I go, remember we made that episode about coffee? And you go,
ago.
yeah?
Are you kidding me? A year ago? I don't remember what we've done a week ago. And maybe I should start keeping the flow chart, because sometimes it's totally confusing. When you ask me a question, I don't follow.
Well, I've noticed that. And some of our subscribers are in the restaurant business, or they're in the design business, or they're in the taking pictures of trains business. And I think we were all impacted by the pandemic. And some people that I've known 5 or 6 years, they would contact me on my phone and, ask me what I was doing. And then as it started to lift up a little bit, you could go meet somebody, but you had to sit 6 feet apart. And this one friend of mine insisted on wearing 2 masks. I said, Kay, we're eating a salad. And actually, she was eating a salad. I think I was eating enchiladas or something, or chili. And she said, but it's the pandemic. I said, Kay, you're being crazy. So she would pull her masks down and shovel in some salad and put the mask back on while she's chewing. And it just started making me feel kind of crazy. So I just didn't meet up with her. Now, I have, very, very, very few people I saw during the pandemic. I endured the assault of my daughter, the arrival of her, and then she left. And then I have a couple friends here, and people who love to watch sports. Oh my gosh, there was no tennis, there was no basketball, there was no baseball, and there was nothing to do other than just smoke cigarettes and be crazy.
It's funny because you said nothing to do and sit inside the house smoking cigarettes, but actually you had to get outside, expose yourself to the sun, and exercise as much as you can. But you were told to sit down.
Okay, wait a minute. We can't use the word expose yourself.
Why? I mean, how could you? If
no
you go
one
outside,
should be. No, wait a minute. The word expose yourself is when a man goes someplace, he's wearing a raincoat, and he opens his raincoat.
No, when it's sunny, you don't you don't need a raincoat if it's sunny weather. Go outside, expose yourself, and get the vitamin D.
No,
because the vitamin D comes from the sun, not from the pills you have.
No, wait a minute.
Next time
expose yourself is always used with flashers. Okay, let's not go there. Let me not laugh. I'm just saying that, we needed to be outside. So what I would do, the gyms were closed, all the yoga studios were closed. So what I would do is I would go in my car, to get gas. I was wiping down the gas handle. I was wearing gloves. It was completely insane. I would go to a restaurant that I like to go to, Komali's, and it was closed. And I would just get into the parking lot and do push-ups on the back of my car, just lean up against my car, do push-ups and, lunges. And so anybody that would drive by would see that here's this crazy person, doing push-ups against the back of their car. But it did feel good to get outside and to feel the sunshine, and there was no one exposing themselves anywhere. But yeah, you need to get outside. Were you able to get outside and go on walks, or what did you do to get some air?
Yes, I tried to. I'm looking for a replacement now because there is obviously something with the word explosion. Uh,
Experience. She's experienced.
yeah, I experienced the nature. Shall we say that?
Yes,
And
to go out into nature.
yeah, I have to be very careful. Apparently, I have to be very careful with words, because some of them bears a special meaning for you.
Not just for me. I'm just saying that's American English. American English. You don't want to be exposing yourself to anything. Don't do that. I mean, I have a brother who lives in San Antonio who got arrested, and he worked for some time as a bartender, but he studied like physics and astronomy and architecture when he was in college. But he kind of had a tragic marriage. But anyhow,
Well,
so my
don't
brother was
everyone.
he was telling me the story about how he was.
I mean, don't everyone. Yeah, you said the tragic marriage and triggered me. Okay, go on.
He was telling me about how he was in a park. This was not during the pandemic. This was before. He was just out in the park, and
Expose
you're
himself.
supposed to have these brick buildings that have women's restroom, men's restroom, in different parts of the park. But he had wandered into the park where an area was that he forgot exactly where the restrooms were, and so he thought, well, there's nobody around. Let me just kind of pee on a tree. And so he was over at a tree, and all of a sudden, a policeman came upon him and not arrested him, but wrote a ticket for him that he was exposing himself in public. My brother just said he was just trying to pee on a tree, but now he has on his permanent record that he was exposing himself
Exactly, because
in
there
San
is
Pedro
no
Park.
punishment. Yeah, exactly. I mean, smart
San,
policeman.
San Pedro Park. But anyhow,
And I remember that when it all started, my house was a mess before COVID, and I had so much time on hand that I started to thoroughly clean it. And I thought, why didn't do that before? And had it not been for COVID, it'd still be a mess.
no, it actually turned out to be pretty good because I went through a lot of books. And I think during the pandemic, we kind of started recording some episodes called, I don't know, Nothing Else Matters, or Wear Your Mask, or how to avoid anxiety, or Don't Touch Your Face. And
Also cats, because I saw my neighbor talk to her cat to avoid anxiety, I think. And if I don't know.
I was standing on the balcony. Okay, one part of the balcony looks into the swimming pool, and the other side of it just looks into the parking lot. And I was just kind of standing at the side, just looking for some human beings. Because I was kind of lonely, and I don't smoke cigarettes, but I just looked at the parking lot and I saw this woman walking, like power walking. And she kind of glanced up. She goes, "Hi." She's wearing a mask. I go, "Hello." She goes, "I've seen you." I go, "Yeah, I live here." She goes, "Your hair is really great. Who does your hair?" I go, "I cut my own hair." "You cut your own hair? It looks fabulous." I go, "You can cut your own hair too." So she was just power walking in the parking lot. And it's just such a funny sentence because nobody could go to a barber or barber shop. Do you remember when you were telling me that your hair had grown like a lion? It had grown.
I do remember that. I also remember, I didn't tell you about that, but when they rob banks, they wear these masks. And I had to experience, I'm a huge guy basically, and kind of scary. But inside, deep down inside, I'm as soft as a cucumber. Anyway, so I went into the bank and I guess It was a woman? Maybe not. I tell her that give me all of my money or something like that. And he was like, are you fucking kidding me? Because you take off your mask now. I cannot see if it's
No,
really you or not.
no,
Yeah.
yeah, I know that. I remember I went into this one grocery store that is kind of a hipster grocery store. So like there's some medical students and doctors there. There's some yoga teachers. There's people that ride bicycles. It's a little bit left of center. You know, it's not just a standard grocery store. And I remember going in there like you were supposed to. I made a list of what I wanted because I didn't want to be in there too long. Like get the bread, go to the vegetables, go get some meat, pick up this, and quickly get out of there, back in your car, back home. So I had I had it all mapped out like I was on a mission. And, you know, I got this one mask that was so pretty. It's on our little cover shot. It's a beautiful embroidered mask from Mexico, but it doesn't have any wire in it to press it against your nose. So if you wear glasses and you're breathing, like your glasses are all fogged up, but it's a very pretty mask. It's on our thumbnail. But I remember going in there trying to wear that, and my glasses were fogging up. And then I was shocked at the variety of masks. There were some people who actually work in the medical center who happen to have hazmat suits. That means it looks like a deep sea diver with a huge head on it with like a door that can open up like, you know, 20,000 leagues under the sea. And then I saw people with like ski masks. They looked like they were going to rob someone. I was over in the bread area, and you were not supposed to touch anything unless you were going to buy it. And there was this very nice, it looked like kind of a mom and maybe her college-age son, and they were trying to decide what bread to buy. And I was standing nearby waiting for them to finish their selection. And I saw that they had touched a couple packages and did not choose them. So I was careful not to touch those packages. Then I was over in the vegetables. They were there too. And I just remember thinking like how weird it is to be afraid to touch a package. I also saw a guy in a ski mask, like a kind of a young athletic guy, with like combat boots on, what are they called? The pants with the side pocket. Yeah, cargo pants. He had like a vest on. He looked like a paratrooper or a terrorist or something. And he was just squatting down looking at these cans of tomatoes on the bottom shelf. And the only thing I could see are his eyes. And I just quickly moved away from him because you know, in Texas and the United States, we have a lot of mass shootings. And I just started becoming like so damn paranoid, thinking like I'm going to die at the grocery store just trying to buy bread.
The whole world
terrible.
went crazy. Yeah, it literally turned upside down. When I was a kid, I was told by my parents and grandparents, like, stay at home, where are you going? And then I had to control my old folks, you know, when they tried sneaking out the house, not to expose themselves, but get some fresh air and hear sunlight. And I was like yelling at them to stay indoors. It's a crazy time.
Well, I know I like to be at home sometimes, but I spend most of my time out and about. So like since I traveled all over the world, you know, I want to explore and see what's out there. So if I move to Frankfurt, then I'm on a train going to Munich, or if I'm living in, you know, Turkey, then I'm on a train going to Paris, or it was a bus. But I remember it was very hard for me during the pandemic because I need to have people around me. But I did have my MeWe is another social platform, kind of like Facebook. And I had my MeWe friends. So Tony Carnes, and Mark Stevens, and Mr. X, and Mr. A, and Lydia, and some of our subscribers. I was able to spend too much time online, you know, talking to them and showing them coffee I was making, and they would show me some art that they're making. And people were talking about different ways they were experiencing the pandemic. And I know that Tony lives outside of London, and I believe he was working in hospice care before the pandemic. And he would say that he had to keep getting like COVID tests every time he'd go to work because he was working with the elderly. And he was saying that he was just getting so tired of being tested all the time time that he felt like kind of like a test rat. Did you have to get tests to go back to work?
Yeah, but not that often and not every day. I was not that critical to the industry, apparently. But I didn't finish my story about the bank stuff.
Oh,
I
tell me,
wanted
tell
to
me.
withdraw some money, and I was wearing a mask and shades, and the only thing I was afraid most was like to not sneeze. I tried not to sneeze like I've never tried before, and then I sneezed anyway. And everybody's like was looking like
Panic.
I was what do you say that
And
contagious? Is that the
yeah,
word? Like
yeah.
they were ready to shoot me like I was a real robber. They gave me so much attention I've never received before. Yeah.
No, I know that. And when you try not to sneeze, you have to sneeze. I remember that I was in there's a lot of construction around Dallas, and I just remember that I was someplace and I was wearing a mask, and I kept thinking, okay, I feel like I'm going to sneeze. And I kept thinking, no, I can't sneeze because they're going to think I'm sick. And I kept thinking maybe I should run
Exactly.
to run to the bathroom and sneeze. And I kept thinking that's stupid. And then as I was making my way towards the bathroom, I felt the sneeze coming on, and I was wearing I was wearing a mask. So what I did is I put my elbow up to my face and sneezed into like through the mask into my elbow, and there was a lady looking at spinach, in the vegetable area, who looked at me like, "Oh my God, I'm never coming to this grocery store again." But it wasn't because I was sick. It's just because I had a little irritation. And the more I thought about stopping the sneeze, the worse it was. It was
Exactly.
terrible.
That's
Well, did
that's
you
why
get your money?
if I had robbed that bank, I think it would have gone unnoticed. But I had to sneeze, and everybody was rushing to me like, oh, some rushed away, some rushed to me on the security guys. I thought, damn, what am I doing here? I don't know.
Well,
And social distancing, like they were around me. I don't know, at 6 feet distance. I get stupid rules.
there is a YMCA here at White Rock, a very beautiful one with lots of natural lighting and fabulous machines, and they have yoga and they have childcare, and there's a brewery right across the street, White Rock Ale House, and they have one beer. It's called the Big Thicket. It's kind of like a blonde Brussels beer. And if you buy a big thicket for $6, $1 goes to the White Rock YMCA, and then the $5 goes to the brewery. So I really like that brewery, and I also like the YMCA. So I had a great membership to the YMCA. I was doing the stationary bicycle, 5 or 6 miles. I was doing these thigh press machines. I was doing these pull-ups, and my friend Alex was doing weightlifting. It was like, we're getting in shape, you know. And then the pandemic hit, and the YMCA closed down. And like, the only thing I could do is push ups on the back of my car in a parking lot. So when the pandemic kind of eased up a little bit, maybe a year or two into it, the YMCA cautiously opened up as an experiment. And they had this disclaimer on their website, we are experimenting with limited opening. Our facility has been selected. Please be aware that we cannot be responsible for anything that happens to you here. So I asked a couple of friends, like, hey, you want to go back to the Y? They go, hell no. But I thought, well, I want to see what this is all about. So I would call up the Y and I would say, like, suppose I want to just do the stationary bicycle and I want to be on a certain bicycle far away from people. You had to make an appointment. Let's suppose I want to be on bicycle number 15. I have to make an appointment 24 hours in advance and specify which bicycle I want. And if there's not two bicycles near me that have already been signed up, then it was like, that's how they reopened the YMCA. And it became just so ridiculous, I just stopped going. Do you really
How
want to
about
make an appointment?
how about your
No.
your face? Did you touch your face? Because they told you not to touch your face, and I missed that a lot. And when I finally touched it in public, I felt like I was molesting myself. And I still have these memories coming from that moment, because everybody's was looking at me, probably thinking that I'm already dead or half dead.
Well, a lot of guys that have beards, like some guys will grow beards at different times of the year, and they'll be clean shaven at other times of the year. But some guys I've noticed they like to they'll drink a beer and they'll just kind of like pet their chin, like they're just feeling their they do all kinds of crazy stuff. You know what I mean? Like you're just kind of like, I don't want to say groping your face, but just kind of feeling your chin. And I just remember thinking it must be so hard for men not to be able to touch their face and just to be trapped at home with their wife or their girlfriend, or their girlfriend's in another country, or their wife's trapped back in Italy.
The baby boom didn't happen. They said that there'll be lots of babies in 9 months, but I don't see many.
Oh, both my daughters had babies. Everybody had babies in Dallas. There was no sports and there was no bars to go to, so everyone was just madly having sex.
Okay.
Well, I just mean, I don't want to say madly having sex. I'm saying that quite a few people had babies. A lot of people had babies. Almost everybody. Almost everyone. Yeah. Baby Otto was born, and baby Zara, and baby Karim, and there were like babies everywhere. And then there started to be these groups that they were called they were called COVID babies, which was kind of sad. It was a sad name, but the mothers and the dads were all kind of bonding over the fact, like, once the pandemic kind of lifted a little bit, you'd see these young moms and dads, the girls wearing yoga pants, the guys they got their beard, they got their baseball cap, got their running shoes, they're pushing a baby carriage. And I just remember I'd see them all over the place, and I would say, oh, wow, like, looks like you got a baby in there. Because sometimes people push baby carriages and put dogs in it. But I would say, oh, yeah, my daughter just had a baby. How old is your baby? They go, oh, blah, blah, blah. I go, oh, my gosh, they're like pandemic brothers. And there started being all this bonding over these babies that were born during the pandemic. Now, what years do you consider the pandemic to be? I don't even know. Did it start in 2020?
2020. Do you remember when we set up this channel? It was 2020, but you said that was 2021.
I don't know. I just remember that it was, I looked at it, it was July. I just looked. It was set up in July. I don't know, but I remember you telling me that you think that in Russia, that before Russia admitted there is a pandemic, that some people were already getting sick. And I think in the United States, Fauci announced the start of the pandemic, but people were already getting sick. Because I have this one friend of mine who's a lawyer who has blue hair. And he's got long COVID, but doesn't seem to stop him from doing federal law. But 2020.
Do you have this South Park? I don't know, Netflix, or I don't know where they are. Could be on HBO. Yeah, South Park TV shows. They make so funny. There's some very funny episodes about the COVID, post-COVID as well. It just came into my life. And one of them called Return of COVID, very much like our episode we're recording now, but that was 2 years ago.
So what were they spoofing, or what they were talking about? How it's back again, or it's never went away, or what were they saying?
I probably, due to long COVID symptoms, I cannot explain that to you, but I laughed a lot when I watched it.
Well,
that will be stupid next to you, but maybe I should rerun it and tell you tomorrow.
No. The other thing that was interesting to me is a lot of people were like paranoid about if they had COVID or not. So they were going to like CVS and Walgreens and these grocery stores buying these home tests. And then I read some newspaper article about how these home tests were made in China. And they were like blaming China for starting the pandemic. And they were saying that it was a China conspiracy. And they were flooding the American market with these tests that were going to further infect Americans. And it was about a Chinese world takeover. Like, so many conspiracy theories spun out of control. Like I
Oh yeah.
never took a COVID test. You know what my COVID test was?
What?
I like to cook. So if I could put some olive oil in a pan and cut up garlic and still smell it, I knew that I was okay. So I mean I get seasonal allergies, ragweed, and there's dust and pollen in the air. I will sneeze or something, but the sense of smell supposedly was one of the first things to go. And this one friend of mine, she's probably my age. She was a second grade teacher, and she's retired and lives in a big giant house. She was like always getting tests, and I told her, I said, "Why are you doing that? Like, do you have your sense of smell?" She goes, "Yes." I said, "Well, that's one of the first things that goes. So like," and I told her my theory. I said, "Well, if you're making some spaghetti sauce, just like throw some garlic in a pan." She goes, "That's not scientific."
Yeah, because
How did
you're
that make
against science.
How did that make me feel? Sad.
I feel bad. I remember Fauci said, "I am science. If you're against me, you're against science." I don't remember where I saw it, but
Oh yeah, 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 yeah,
was it
yeah, yeah,
Fauci?
yeah. Yeah.
Because
Well, I
sometimes
mean,
they show the news.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
and
I feel
then
sad now
there was.
too.
Well, what should we do about it? I'm thinking have another cup of coffee, go jogging, read a murder mystery, go to Albuquerque to Michael's restaurant and order some pizza or pasta or spaghetti. Fly to London and try to find Tony Carnes walking around near the Tate Museum because the museums are open again and the places to buy beer are open again. And I think the banks are open. Are the banks open where you are?
Yes, yes, but if there is no internet tomorrow, I lose all my money because it's all.
There's,
I mean, I don't have cash on me these days, and if something happens with the internet, all these banks they went bust probably, and I'll
oh, see,
become
I'm
poor,
homeless.
poor, poor man. I don't know. Maybe I should stock up on cash. But even when it
Well,
was COVID, um, what do you say? COVID rush, not rush, but how do you say that when everyone's excited and trying to stock on food
panic,
and panic? Exactly.
hoarding. Yeah, COVID
I said,
panic.
oh no, forget it. I said, I'm not going and I'm not running with everybody to buy food and take out cash off of teller machines. No.
Well,
And it went well for me.
I'm kind of old school. I always deal in cash because I believe that technology fails all the time, and that at the end of the world, there's just going to be cockroaches, lawyers, and cash. So if I have cash, I'll be okay, and if I know some lawyers, I'll be okay.
Yeah, but what if you have like $1 million, all right? You can't keep it home under a
Yes, I
pillow
can.
or in the
Yes,
basement. I
I
mean,
can.
theoretically you can, but it's much more safe. I mean, quote unquote, because define safe when your
Are
money
you
is in the
kidding?
bank.
No, 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 no. Listen to this. Escúchame. Listen to me. I'm just telling you. I don't know. Before the pandemic, I had part of my money in the Chase Bank and part of it in Wells Fargo. So I've had a Wells Fargo account for like 30 years, and I've had a Chase account for a long time. And at one point in time, I think terrorists were like bombing people all over Europe in tourist areas. I'm not sure when that was, maybe 10 years ago. But I remember I go into this Chase Bank and I had forgotten my ID because I'd changed purses and I didn't have my ID with me, but they know me because I'm in there all the time and I've lived there around that area all the time. And I walk in and I had something like, I don't know, $50 of cash or maybe $100 worth of cash that I wanted to deposit. And they said, "I'm sorry, Ms. Garechi, we can't accept this." I go, "What do you mean? What do you mean you can't accept it?" They go, "Well, you don't have an ID." So I come in all the time and you just called me Mrs. Garechi. I said, "I'm not Mrs. Garechi. I'm just, Patricia Goretti. Yes, Miss Goretti. We can't accept cash because people are laundering money through banks. I go, I'm not laundering money. You're a bank. I got $100. I'm trying to put it in my account. And you got a machine and you can type in little numbers. So I got furious with the Chase Bank. I'm a person that burns bridges to the ground. So I got mad at the Chase Bank and took all my money and put it in Wells Fargo. But speaking of money under the mattresses, my grandfather was alive during the Depression and Prohibition and all that. And he worked for a brewery. He was a representative for the Pearl Brewery, and he traveled around in his car in the Texas Hill Country. And if you can still sell beer during Prohibition, and you can still, somehow he always had money. And I remember that he had money under his mattress. I remember my grandmother had money in a closet. And when I just remember my uncle went to college. My mother was offered the opportunity to go to college. All my aunts, these were like old school people. Like they just believe in like cash and gold. I don't know. I don't know. My friend David is just a credit card guy. He doesn't ever carry cash because he says if he had cash, he'd spend it. But I say if you have a credit card, you'll spend.
Well, lots of people still use physical cash like you. But me and David, we are kind of electronic payment dudes. I don't know. I don't like cash, literally. When I have it on me, I feel uncomfortable. But I understand that, again, when I give money to, well, like you brought your cash to another bank, and it's not yours. I mean, it's yours theoretically, but in practice, it's not yours anymore because you've given it away.
Yeah, I just got a notice from Wells Fargo that my monthly fees are going up because I don't have enough money there. Because you know what? I'm not keeping all my money in the dang bank. Right. Now they're punishing me for not having enough money.
Yeah, well, I do. And I was like, the other day, I went to the bank teller machine and there was an announcement that this machine isn't working. And I thought, well, silly me, because I needed cash. I've been there before. Yeah, maybe I should keep like 100 or 2 on me.
No, I agree because I went to this one, I live in Lakewood, which is East Dallas, and there is a Wells Fargo right next to this really great business building. And I know the security people there, and I just know some people that have offices there. And I remember I pull up to the ATM machine, and I'm either going to try to get some cash or put some cash in. And the little sign comes up, no cash available. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking like, okay. And then I went back again on like Monday or Tuesday, the little same sign came up. So I went onto the inside and just talked to the security guy for the building. His name is Darwin. I go, Darwin. He goes, what's up? I said, why? This is a bank. They have money. Why do they have a sign up that says no cash? He goes, I don't know. That's Wells Fargo. So Wells Fargo is pushing people away from cash.
Yeah.
They have cash. They have cash.
They're pushing people away from cash.
Huh?
Every bank, I think the conspiracy now, the whole world government, they want you to depend on this electronic form of payments, and they don't want you to have cash on hand.
Yeah, and also Bitcom, and they've got like, everybody that goes to get a shot's getting like a chip in their arm. Like, every people that I would consider reasonable, hardworking American people have given me some examples of how crazy the world has become since more and more information is coming out related to the pandemic times. Like, somebody was telling me, I met this one couple. They came up to this bar. It was an open bar that had like 2 garage doors that opened up. This couple came in. I was just sort of standing there, and they were asking me what I was eating, and I was telling them about what I was eating. And then we just started talking. It was this guy and his wife, and he was a trucker also, a truck driver. And he was saying well, he asked me just casually, what do you think about the pandemic? I go, I don't know about the pandemic. I don't even know if it's real or not, but I know people have died. So they told me this theory that the pandemic was created to make everybody stay home so that the governments or the G7 or 12 or how many there are could put up these towers everywhere and implant all this stuff so they could like watch and control people and shut off machines here and shut off machines there, and nobody would know that they're doing it because everybody's at home behind their closed door. And then first of all, I thought, wow, that's a new kind of crazy. But then I thought about it, like nobody was on the streets, nobody was in the bank buildings, no one was in the office buildings, no one could go to a funeral. We were all just like at home being stupid. And then I started to think about, was I in a science fiction novel? But, he had a point. All of a sudden, there were towers everywhere, and there were like things hanging off of telephone wires everywhere, and routers were messed up, and my computer wouldn't work. And
Yeah, you have dropped lots of truth bombs today, and I hope we will not get any strikes for violating the community rules or stuff. But you said you said Darwin, and I thought, what if we make another episode about theory of evolution?
that sounds good. I like that. Thanks for listening.
Bye-bye.